All
Yes,
you.
yep, I'm
Yep.
ready.
Go
So
ahead.
first, I want to thank everyone for joining us for our second part of a three-part series presented by the lovely Donna Miller of C3 Workplace and Karen Yankovich of UpLevel Media. If you did miss the first part, Donna did record it, and you just have to reach out to Cassandra, and she will send that over to you. I'd also like to thank our corporate partners. We have Crown Plaza, Eastwood College, Good Sam, and Sarah Supermarkets, Conica Minolta, M&T Bank, TD Bank, Sheridan, and Valley Health Systems. They really do support the chamber tremendously and let us continue working the way we have been. With that, I'm just going to pass it over to you girls, and thank you very much.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Maureen. So welcome, everybody. We are happy to be here for another installment of this this series that we're calling, what are we calling? Growth and Connecting and Growth while quote unquote disconnected. So as Maureen said, we are recording this episode. You can use the chat window. We'd love for this to be interactive. We're going to have about a 30-minute conversation. Karen and I will be talking about some of the things we're doing, what's working for us, and we welcome your questions and comments. And I would also encourage you, in the spirit of virtual networking, is use that chat window to introduce yourself to your fellow participants here. I am, as Maureen said, I'm Donna Miller from C3 Workplace. For the last 25 years, we've been helping companies to start and grow. We do that by providing office space flexible at 2 locations. We provide virtual assistants because we want to help business owners focus on the things that drive their business forward instead of what we like to call the administrivia. We provide bookkeeping services because I wholeheartedly believe that financial literacy is a business superpower. You need to have it or hire it. And I now spend most of my time in the business advisory arena, helping companies to figure out how to get from where they are to where they want to be. The C3 stands for Connect, Collaborate, Community. We believe in the power of collaborating. This is an example of that. I believe a rising tide lifts all boats. So if I can help you and that helps your company, it helps my company, that growth spills into our communities. And, you know, those are my rose-colored glasses of how I believe business can be a force for good. So that's a little bit about what I do. Karen, tell our audience all of the fabulous things that you do.
Yeah, so thanks, Donna and Maureen. My business really fundamentally teaches LinkedIn marketing strategies. But a lot of the things that Donna said are also tenets in our business and our philosophy. And one of the things, and this is something that has come up a few times recently, one of the things that I teach my clients to do, certainly with LinkedIn marketing, and certainly I do with my business, is kind of identify who's your ideal client, who do you want to work with, and what traits do they have. And one of the traits that I always list in my ideal client is generous. And they're like, why do you need your clients to be generous? I said, because I teach them how to network. And if you walk into a networking, if you walk into a Mahwah chamber meeting and you stick your hand out and say, buy my stuff, nobody's going to want to talk to you, right? You've got to be generous. You've got to first ask about their stuff. Maybe you can provide an introduction to them. And that is where I see people having the most success. So when Donna says connect, collaborate, and communication, is that
Community.
what they were?
Connect,
community?
Collaborate, community.
All of those kind of, to me, that also kind of filters down to generosity, right? Like if you're connecting and collaborating, you can't do it with just in a silo. What is in it for me? You really truly have to understand the benefits of a collaboration. Means you're supporting each other. And now more than ever, I think we're seeing the value in that, because we don't have we're just in a world where we never thought we were going to be, right? So we kind of just have to go forward in whatever way works for us. And I'm finding the people that are the most generous and collaborative and community focused are the ones that are thriving. So not just surviving, but thriving.
I completely agree. There's a little book that I love called The Go-Giver. It's by Bo Berg, right?
Great
so
book.
I was raised to be a go-getter, and I am. but I've
Yeah.
learned to be a go-giver, because the more I put out into the world, the more I get back. So again, there's those
Yes.
rose-colored glasses of mine. And I see some of you introducing yourselves in the chat window. I encourage you to continue to do that. So in today's episode of Connecting and Growing While Disconnected, Karen and I want to talk specifically about prospecting. We're all talking, there's lots of talk about reopening. We hope that over the last 2.5 months or whatever it's been, that in your business you have been able to prospect, that you have been able to work on filling your pipeline. That's not an optional thing for any business. That's something we have to work on all the time. So Karen, on my own LinkedIn usage, I have seen a big uptick in LinkedIn activity. I think that a lot of people thought, okay, that's my virtual networking, but and some of it I've received, well, and some of it I'm like, oh my goodness. So talk to us a little bit about, what are you seeing that's working? What's not working? Talk to us about, at a high level, how should we be using LinkedIn for prospecting? It's a great tool,
It's a great
but like any
tool.
tool, you could do it right, you could do it wrong. So talk to us a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I am not a fan of BS created fake relationship building, right? Having a 6-step plan, and step 1, you do this. Step 2, you send them an article you think that they might be interested in. Step 3, you offer some kind of advice. Like, I'm just not a fan of that. You're wasting my time. And I think people are starting to feel that they don't want their time wasted. What I am a fan of is truly building relationships and truly getting to know people. So what I'm seeing is more people are using LinkedIn, and they're understanding the power behind it, right? Like, we all went to many, many meetings at the Mahwah Chamber, and hopefully we will go to many, many more. But one of the things that I don't think people were doing a great job of was following up from that meeting and really building relationships with people. And now you're sitting behind your computer looking at your LinkedIn network going, I met this person at the Mahwah Chamber event and I haven't talked to them since. I wonder what they're up to. Maybe this could be a really good contact for me. Let me reach out. So I think people are starting to realize that going deeper with people in their LinkedIn network in a very micro-targeted way is where the value is and where the profits are, whatever that looks like, whether you're looking for a job or a client or just a collaboration partner, whatever that looks like for you, whatever value and profit and money in your bank account looks like. But here's the thing that I'm also seeing. Many of us are also have kind of neglected our profiles. And this all works much better if you're telling the world why they should want to know you, right? And I'm doing a lot of work with helping people create a better profile so that they're showing up. You're presenting to the world what you want them to know about you.
Yeah.
So, I think people are starting to see the value, and not that there's a value over other social media platforms. I frankly don't think it's apples to apples comparison. I don't think that LinkedIn is social media like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook are. Those are like push marketing. And yes, it's inbound marketing where people will reach back to you, but LinkedIn is building relationships. That is not the same on those other platforms. And I think they're starting to see it's not a social media platform. It's not another task on their marketing to-do list. It's a place where they can build relationships that can absolutely take their careers to new levels.
I think that's so true. And I often say, and you said when people go to meetings and they don't do the follow-up, and I often say, if you're not going to do the follow-up, then what an insanely waste of time. I mean, the work is in the follow-up.
Yes.
That's where the work comes in.
And especially when they say things to me like, I don't have time to do all these things you want me to do. I'm like, really? And believe me, I want you to go to meetings, but maybe instead of going to 4 meetings a month, you go to 3 meetings a month and you actually do some follow-up on the meetings you went to. Don't tell me you don't have time to follow up, because what are you doing in your career or your business that's more important than putting money in your bank account? Like, what's more important than that? And this is where that happens.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I have to say that I keep meaning to work on my profile, which, I do periodically, but
you and everybody else.
Yes, that is something I need to do.
Including me, by the way. Every time LinkedIn recently changed the about section from 2,000 to 2,600. And I say recently, like I say, I need to lose the baby weight from my 25-year-old daughter, right? Like it has probably been 6 months or 4 months and I haven't changed mine yet. So believe me, I get it. I get it.
Gotcha. Well, and you know what I've noticed, and this is also kind of what you talked about is, I mean, I seem to be getting a record number, and I know you have too, specifically because of some of your marketing, but I seem to be getting a record number of requests to connect. And I have to say that, you know, I used to have this screening process where if we had a certain number of people that, you know, so I used to, I don't know what just happened. Okay, we're still good. So I used to say, okay, if we know, I don't know, 40 connections, I'll just say yes. And I had some criteria for connecting, but what I'm finding is with this increased number of of connection requests, I find like it's becoming a job to kind of go through them. And now I find that unless their invitation to me comes not only with a customized note, but a customized note that says more than, hey, I noticed we had a bunch of connections in common. You know, I'm likely to not connect or to not accept that invitation because it goes to what you're saying, Karen, is this is about building relationships. It's not a push marketing. It's not all about creating these templated things. So I think my suggestion to our audience, oh, here, Maureen just asked, should I accept all my requests for connecting? I'm going to throw that to you, Karen.
One of my favorite topics, Donna. I was like waiting for you to throw that one to me because I'm going to push back on what you said a little bit, because here's the thing. As you, Donna, grow your influence, when you stand on a stage with a microphone, when you're moderating a panel, there are many people in that audience that you don't know, that
Correct.
doesn't know a lot of the same people
Correct.
you know, but that's impressed with what you're doing, and they want to follow you and they want to be a part of your world. So I think that it's okay to accept connection requests, because as your visibility grows and your influence grows, that means your digital marketing works. That means somebody saw your ad and they want to get to know more about you and your business, right? That means somebody saw, you know, your tweet or your post or all those things we do, wanting that inbound marketing. So then why are we being selective when they say, yes, I want to be in your world, right? We're putting it out, we're putting a billboard on the highway, and then we're saying, what, if I don't know you, you can't watch, like, you know, so I know that's a little bit dramatic, but that's the mindset I want you to think about.
Okay, fair enough.
At the same
Good
time,
info.
if they pitch you immediately, get rid of them. If they pitch you in that, I will tell you, I am ruthless, and I will warn you all this right now. If you send me a connection request that says, hey, Karen, I'm Mary, and I have this insurance product or this product that you're going to be really interested in. If I don't know Mary, not only am I not accepting it, I'm reporting you. Because I'm saying I don't know this person. Because I, as a LinkedIn purist, right, I think that is denigrating the platform. And so Donna, yes, of course they could still be customizing it, even if you don't have a lot of connections in common. But I try not to kind of, I kind of feel like, because I teach this stuff, I know there's so many people that don't know that they should be doing that.
Right.
But if they not only don't do that, or if they customize it and immediately pitch me, I know that people like you and other people maybe are going, all I'm getting is pitches, Karen. So I feel like the only control I have is to say, not only do I not want to accept your connection request, but I'm going to tell LinkedIn I don't know you, and you put this out to me. So, and I do that not because I'm being, you know, like spiteful or vengeful. It's because I truly think this is an amazing platform. And when people want to connect with us, and here's the other thing, and Maureen, when you're talking about, should I accept them all? In your case, absolutely. You're the face of the chamber. You don't know who these people are. They might want to know more about the chamber, right? So, and the power in LinkedIn is not just in your first degree network, but it's in your second degree network. And the more people you have in your first degree network, the more reach you have to your second degree network. So I definitely do not teach a numbers game marketing on LinkedIn, but there's no denying that the number of people in your second degree network could bring a lot of value to your business. So that's kind of my long-winded answer to that.
Okay, so I'm going to segue to a question that I'm sure you get asked all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know why so there's the free version of LinkedIn, and there's paid, which I guess is called Sales Navigator, correct?
Well, there's multiple versions of the paid.
So I'm familiar with Sales Navigator. So talk to us a little bit, and I know why I do use a paid version, and I'll share with you why. But talk to our audience a little bit about paid versus free.
So you use Sales Navigator, Donna?
Yes.
Okay, cool. 100%. If somebody came to me and said, you have to give up every single tool in your business but one, what would you keep? And I'd keep Sales Navigator. Because
Why?
Sales Navigator, because it leverages my time.
Amen.
Because LinkedIn, so when if I asked 100 people, if I asked 1,000 people, where do most of your leads come from? 999 of them will say referrals. So we're doing all of this other work. We're tweeting and we're Instagramming, but all of our business is coming from referrals. And referrals means that you meet people talking to people, right? Sales Navigator so LinkedIn marketing basically allows you to use kind of automate those referrals, because referrals marketing is kind of like cross your fingers marketing. You don't really know when someone's going to give you a referral, right? So what can you do to make that more repeatable? Well, you can have a strategy to meet more people that you think would be really interesting. But LinkedIn is militant about not letting you let other people log into your account. They shut tools down that are unauthorized like crazy. So much of the work has to be done by me, Karen. And I think we talked last week that sometimes I want to just like fly my assistant up from Maryland to sit in my living room so I can have her log into my LinkedIn account and do some work, because sometimes I just need support from her and it has to be done by me, or I'm risking the security of my LinkedIn account. LinkedIn could shut me down. Sales Navigator, because it's a part of LinkedIn, leverages my time. It allows me to find people in a much more targeted way. It allows me to segment my list. Like when I log into LinkedIn, I'm connected to so many people because I teach this stuff. Totally not suggesting you do that. But when I open my wall, there's tons of stuff on the wall. I don't know who half of those people are, never mind what all that stuff is. But on Sales Navigator, I can have a separate wall just of the people that are interesting to me or that I think could be valuable to my business. So I could talk about Sales Navigator for a really long time. I will say, if you guys want to hear more about that, if you just go to a search bar and search Good Girls Get Rich Sales Navigator, I did a 2-part series on Sales Navigator, probably in the fall, maybe of 2019. So it's fairly recent, and I go in deep into why I think Sales Navigator is such a great tool.
That's great. And I have to say, you hit on one of the main reasons I use Sales Navigator. Well, I use it. Oh, wait, let me just open this.
Yeah, I totally want to hear what your reasons are.
Yeah, so my reason is very similar to, and Clelia has a question here too, which I have thousands of contacts. I get 5 requests a day. I went through. Yeah, I agree with you, Clelia. And the reason I use Sales Navigator is for that reason. I think I have like 3,000 connections now. I don't know. But when I open LinkedIn, it is impossible for me to keep up with that feed. I don't know all those people. I can't keep up with it. So I use Sales Navigator because I believe in the engagement part of LinkedIn. I believe it's more important for me to watch my important people and comment on what they're posting. So to me, that's the secret sauce of building relationship. Clelia Pergola, who wrote Law Office Revolution, helping law offices to automate and create process. So she posts something and I can chime in on what she's saying and say, I totally agree, or, hey, have you thought of this? Or, somebody posts an article, 10 things to whatever, and you could say, personally, I like number 3 the best. To me, that's how you begin the process of building online, right? It's not me pushing, although I do need to put information out that, to me, putting information out on social media is really about branding and touch point. It's not about relationship building. To me, relationship building is responding and reacting and engaging with what other people are posting. And I might do that with people who are my potential centers of influence. It might be, I have this concept also where I like to identify worthy rivals. These are, that's a kind of a nicer name for competitors.
Right.
So I like to identify worthy rivals. I happen to love Rachel Hollis. She's a media person. And, you want to chime in on that stuff because the people who like Rachel are people that I might want to talk to. So just like we've encouraged you to introduce yourselves via the chat window, that's another form of working and engagement on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, is to see who else is engaging with the people. We all
Yes.
attract like valued people.
Yeah.
So I think when we begin that process and that's why I use Sales Navigator, because it allows me to zero in. I can create lead lists for specific, you use the phrase both this episode and the prior one about micro targeting.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing about Sales Navigator. It manages that micro targeting piece for us.
So are you, and maybe you already know this, but I want to let other people that are not as familiar with Sales Navigator know this. When you create a lead list on Sales Navigator, let's just say you come up with, like, then I have done this, by the way, I have done this using Sales Navigator. So I'll tell you exactly what I do when I speak at the Mahwah Chamber events. I go into my LinkedIn network, my first degree network, and I pull up a search that says, who am I connected to within, say, 50 miles of the zip code, whatever the zip code is for Mahwah. And now I have a list of people, okay? Now that list, that's probably 2,000 people, because I lived in that area for so long. So I don't have time. And my intention is to reach out and say, hey, are you going to be around on whatever date? This is a great event. You should be there. I'll be speaking. We get to meet in person. And when I talk about this, I've had people at the chamber put their hand up and go, that's why I'm here. Right. So this works when you do that. So Sales Navigator allows me, number one, to target by zip code, not by New York City general area, which takes you way out on Long Island.
Right.
But the other thing it does is, if that lead list is too big, you can narrow it down by only people that have been active on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. So now if that list is, say it's 1,000, you're probably eliminating 500.
Absolutely.
Okay. And now talk about not wasting your time. Now I'm not messaging 500 people that might not even be alive, never mind looking at LinkedIn. Right now, maybe I am missing some people, but I'm not worried about that, because 500 is a ton. Right now I can use those 500. I can reach out to them and say, hey, and maybe I'll only get to 20 or 100 or 200, but at least I know I'm dealing with people that are active on LinkedIn, that are going to see my message, and I'm not wasting my time. And that is really what Sales Navigator is important for me, is that it leverages my time.
Yeah, Sales Navigator absolutely allows you to zero in. And, if you look at time versus money, I think it's $80 a month.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and by the way, people are saying they love that. I got to tell you, that works really, really well. Because what happens, what do you think happens when somebody comes to that Mahwah Chamber event and says, where's Karen? I came here to meet Karen. First of all, Maureen's going, cool, let's get Karen back here next year, because she's bringing people to the event, right? So the event organizers love that, but those are your buyers. Those are the people that are going to come there, and they're going to invest in you further because they've taken the time to meet you in person. Those are the people that are going to want to work with you beyond that event. So it's such a great, simple strategy that when you use Sales Navigator, it takes a couple hours versus it could be very ineffective doing it other ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Karen, question for you. You are a LinkedIn expert and you help other people become proficient at LinkedIn. Do you prospect outside of LinkedIn?
You just read my mind. I leverage LinkedIn with a lot of other tools. For example, I can tell you a strategy I have right now. I have a client right now who helps people write books. They help them write books, right? So what we're doing right now is we're using Amazon and LinkedIn together. So she's making a list of people that are speakers on LinkedIn. And then she's got somebody on her team comparing that to Amazon to see if they have a book. If they already have a book, she's taken them off of her list, right? But if they don't have a book, now she's reaching out, because we know as speakers that there's a little bit of a pain point, because we know, I can personally tell you that I have lost high-paying speaking engagements because my book isn't published yet. And I know, worded properly, that you can do this. So for the most part in my business, I'm still using LinkedIn, and my clients are still using LinkedIn to do most of the prospecting, because that's what I teach. But I have a Facebook group, and that is a big place of prospecting for me. I'm currently running a Facebook ad to drive people to my Facebook group, because my intention is to get on enrollment calls with them to who might be interested in my program, right? So
Right.
I can be very, very targeted to who I'm sending to the group because Facebook ads are so freaking amazing to target. And then I've got really qualified people that are in that group. So those are just a couple of ways that I use. So even though I'm teaching LinkedIn, I use other platforms sometimes to get me those people. But what about you,
Absolutely.
Donna? What other, I mean, you probably have a broader range than I have because I'm in like all LinkedIn all day kind of world.
Yeah. I mean, as a organization, as a brand, we do many things, and I think most businesses are doing many things. We're on most social media platforms. I am still a very big fan of email marketing, and my social media, especially Facebook. If we do advertising on Facebook, it's about list build, create a download, capture information, provide value. So we're on social media platforms. I mean, this for me is another major mode of prospecting. Like you said, I speak as much as I can because I believe just like building relationships is how we get new business, I believe building centers of influence is how we drive streams of referrals. So I try to spend the bulk of my time on activities that can bring me those referral partners, those centers of influence. So typically for me, that is really around content marketing, around business growth, because it's what I know and it's what we help people do. So it could be speaking, it could be partnering with organizations, which we do a lot of. And then it's making sure, and I think this is really important because when you think about marketing or business development or prospecting, it can be overwhelming because there is so much that you can do. So my team and I are always looking at how do we cross-purpose what we already have? What assets do we have? Do we have a tool? Do we have a video? Did we do a webinar? And how can we I mean, we even, I have a full team marketing strategy call once a week because we believe I have 10. Yeah, I have 10 people on my team. We believe everyone's selling, and everybody's contributing to the strategy. And we also have a private YouTube channel of internal how-to videos for onboarding people. Because the other thing,
so smart,
right? But now we're going through that internal channel playlist to see. There's lots of things in there that all of you might want to know how to do. How do you do rules in Outlook? How do you connect your calendar to whatever? So our overarching prospecting strategy is around thought leaders, centers of influence, and making sure everything we do can be used in multiple ways, because I think that's part of, oh my gosh, we're already through like the half hour. I think what happens is we all have to figure out how to leverage our time. And that happens for all of us in different ways. Certainly outsourcing and delegating some work to a company like C3 or a virtual assistant, or making sure you're not doing your bookkeeping. That's a terrible use of your time. And frankly, you're probably way better at it than you are. So I think it's incumbent upon all of us to figure out what's the highest use of our time and to stay there.
Yes. But here's the thing that you said that I want to make sure everybody heard. You believe that everybody on your team is a part of the sales enrollment piece.
Agreed.
And that's a part that many, many people don't understand. That, social media, if you're pushing out your social media, and I teach this even to local businesses, if you've got somebody I tell them all the time, the minute you hire somebody, let them know they're part of their job is to take pictures of the food if you're a deli and to share it on their social media. Like, don't be afraid to, that is the world we live in right now. And I remember I learned this years, probably more, if I told you how many years ago, you'd be like, how old are you? But I'm going to say probably 25 years ago. Aerosol shoes.
Sure.
So Aerosol Shoes was a client of mine and a company that I had. And Aerosol Shoes, we were meeting with the CEO, and he said, there is no job in this company that's more important than selling a pair of shoes. Like, nobody has a job that's more important than selling shoes. We sell shoes. Number one, I never left their office without at least 2 pairs of shoes in my hands, which was fun, right? But number two, they made it feel like the receptionist asked you if you wanted to go see the shoe warehouse before you got there. The guy that parked your car asked you. And you know what? they're still in business how many years later?
That's right.
Because they understood that everybody's first and foremost, Miss Receptionist, you have a job because we sell shoes. So if
Right.
you're helping us sell shoes, you're going to have that's job security for you, right? So in this digital world, you can still apply that same marketing technique. You know, everybody that works for you should understand what your goal is and what brings in the money to your business and help you achieve that. And that is prospecting gold.
I totally agree. And it makes so I've worked hard to build a company that runs without me, but now that I have strategically worked on getting everyone selling, I now have a company that can run and grow without me involved in the day-to-day. And that's the real magic. And that's what,
That's
did everybody just hear
amazing.
angels?
I did.
So
I heard them.
Okay. So before we finish, one question from the audience also was, this was from a registrant. I think we covered a lot of this, but I want to see if Karen, you want to add anything. What are the best ways to keep my business's name front and center?
Okay, so if you're asking me as a LinkedIn expert, I don't care. Because LinkedIn is about you and your personal brand, not your business brand. You can have a LinkedIn company page, and you should have a LinkedIn company page. And that keeps your company name front and center, but your LinkedIn profile is not about your company. It's about you. And my company and we are the same. My website is KarenYankovich.com, right? But on my LinkedIn profile, you don't see a ton about UpLevel Media, right? It's really about it's about me. And if we're helping you with your profile, and let's say you have 5 employees, each one of your employees should have a great profile that positions them as a rock star at what they do, but they should be associated with the company page that ties back, because the company looks more like a rock star if everybody that works for them personally looks like a rock star. I will say though, that no matter who you are, 95 or more % of the value of LinkedIn is on the personal relationships, not on the company page.
Right.
There's a big push to LinkedIn advertising, and that's another whole conversation we can have. And that has to be done from the company page. But other than that, the company page is a pretty brochure.
Yeah.
So if you're asking me about how to get your company name out there, LinkedIn isn't the place to do it.
I would answer that question by saying, pick your platforms, know your target market, make sure your messaging connects with your target market. And I would say simply be consistent. So the way to keep your name front and center is to not do things in stops and starts, but rather post regularly on your social media channels. As I mentioned, I am a fan of email marketing. So I think that really it's about consistency. That's the way to keep your name front and center. And like we've already talked about, make sure everyone on your team is one of your ambassadors, one of your raving fans out there talking about people, and cross purpose. And, if you have a team, if you have people who are working with you, definitely divide and conquer.
Awesome.
So, my gosh, we're already doing a half hour.
We might need to make this a 10-part series, Donna.
I know, we might have to make it a 10-part series. So we thank you all for joining us today. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Take 1 or 2 tidbits from this half hour today, put them into action, and that is power. So thank you all. Thank you, Karen. Thank you to the Mahwah Chamber and all our sponsors that help make this possible. We would not be here without them, and we truly appreciate that. And next week, join us again for part 3.
Bye, everybody. Thanks,
Bye,
Donna.
everyone.
And thanks
so
Maureen.
much. Take care, everyone.